Who remembers our main verse for this series? Anybody? Or the book? You don't even have to remember the verse. The book. Anybody? Huh? Say, don't be. Songs of Songs. Okay, that was one of the verses we looked at last week. But what is the main verse? Like that ties all the series together. Genesis? No, not Genesis. It is from St. Paul. He just said, St. Paul wrote like the most books. It's like, gotta be St. Paul. So the book was, Ephesians is one, but then 1 Corinthians, St. Paul. And we read. Hopefully this thing will work today. All right. Hopefully I could do this. So hard. All right. So St. Paul, and now abides faith, hope, love. These three. But the greatest of these is love. Right? There, love is grouped in with what? Hope and faith. But the greatest of these is love. And you guys know, like, if you don't have love, you don't have anything, right? It shows the importance of love. We all know these words. We could spell this. A 4-letter word is easy. It's love, like it's easy. But it's probably one of the hardest things for us to do, and we struggle with it as human, right? And God is very clear about the word love. It's mentioned so many times throughout the Bible, right? I think there was a story in the book of Matthew when somebody, went to Christ and said, okay, what is the greatest commandment? Like, there's so many commandments, right? Do this, don't do that, do this. Okay, can you just summarize the Bible in 2, right? And Jesus said, love God, love your neighbor. Easy. Love God, love your neighbor. So what happens? Relationship matter. Relationship with God, that vertical relationship, and the horizontal, the relationship between our neighbors. And that's why we're doing this course, because love is important now more than ever. So, who is ready to love, right? That's what the series is called, Who's Ready to Love, just based on this verse that St. Paul tells us and the importance of love. Last week we had a goal. What was the goal of this course? When we talk about relationship, and we talk about dating, what is the goal, right? And we talked about what this series is not for, but it's for people that look at relationship, dating, leading to marriage, right? So that is, I can never work this. All right, there you go. Our goal of this series is dating, relationship, leading to marriage. Dating, relationship, leading to marriage. I'm not talking about summer flings, right? We're in the summer, it's hot. It'd be nice to have a summer girlfriend or summer boyfriend, right? I'm not talking about casual hangouts. I'm not talking about one-night stands. I'm not talking about I just recently learned this, friends with benefits, whatever that means, right? That's not what we're talking about. That's not what this series is about. It's about real relationship, serious relationship that's going to lead to marriage. Not just, let me get a boyfriend because, that's just the hot thing to do now. Or let me get a girlfriend because, my buddy, everybody, my friends have girlfriends or boyfriends. All right? Let's be real. What instructions have we been given by the church or our parents about dating? What have your parents told you about dating? What have your parents told you about marriage? I'll share mine. I was told, Alab, do not have sex. That's it. Don't have sex. Wait until marriage. I think for a lot of us, from the church perspective, that's the only instruction that we've been given. And we're like, all right, go out to the world. But no sex until marriage. How many of you guys really, show of hands, how many people have been given, real instruction from your parents or from the church? Or heard a sermon at the church about sex, dating, relationship? We don't. I know I didn't, at least. I think we need to do a better job of talking about real things, which is relationship. Most of us, if not all of us, probably will go through a relationship. We'll have a boyfriend, girlfriend. And we put into this situation about the church really giving us the instruction to do so. So that's why we continue to have these series. As you saw by taught our class, Dating Back to Purity. We learned a lot. So this is kind of like a spin-off to that series. So week 2, as you guys talked about, as I talked about last week, there's a question box in the back, love box. Everybody asked this question. I've been asked this question a lot of times, and I took the box last week, and I was kind of going through the questions. And there was 2 questions that I saw. It said, how do I find the one? Have you guys ever asked that one? How do I find the one? The one. There was another question. It's from a girl because I said, How do you know he is the right one? Right? So it's a girl, probably. I don't know. Again, there's no names. We ask this question. We all want to find the right person, right? We all want to find the right person. So I was like, you know what? This is going to be a hard question to answer. So I looked through the Bible. I said, what does the Bible say about finding the right person? I looked. I found nothing. The Bible doesn't tell us how to find the right one. And I think that's the wrong question that we tend to ask. How do I find the right one? How do I find the right person? Think about it. If I'm over here, I'm looking for the right person. I'm walking around looking for the right person. And then there's another person looking for the right person. We're all looking for the right person, right? How do you know when you find the right person? Like, how do you know if we're all looking for the right person, the one, right? The man of my dream, the women of my dreams. How do we know we found the right person? I think that's the wrong question we ask. I think we need to ask a better question. And that question is, am I the right person? If we're all walking around looking for the right person, how many of us are taking the time to say, am I the right person? Right? So, single people, you know the qualities you want in a guy or a girl. We all know what they want. With all due respect, if I had the right person here, would that person want you? Are you the right person? If I had the right person, the perfect guy, whatever your perfect guy is or your perfect girl, if I had that person right here, would that person want you based on your lifestyle? I think that's the question we need to ask. Am I the right person? There's a story, true story. I had a friend. We were maybe like college, freshman or sophomore year. There was, me and him were, I'll talk about me a little bit later, but we're living our college life, right? And there's a girl that he met at lunch or whatever, and she's perfect. She was the leader of Ethiopian, the Bible study. She was she kind of led that. She was we didn't see her at, gatherings or anything like that. So she was she was a good girl. A lot of people wanted, she was perfect. She had the whole package. And this guy, my friend, right, he was excited. He was excited. He wanted her. So, him and his parents are very close. He shares everything with his family. And, we get to know this girl, and she's like just everything he ever wanted. And his own mom said, what makes you think a girl like that would want you? Right? That's his own mom. We want the qualities, we all know the qualities that we want. We have them listed. When we find that person, is that person would want us based on who we are in our lifestyle. So do you qualify? Are you the right person? That guy, when she told him, again, they're a very, unusual relationship that they had, but she was very honest, and he understood. His lifestyle was completely different from her lifestyle. She was perfect for him, but why would a girl like that want him? And that was like his mom in the nicest way, in the most loving way. Let's go back to the book of Genesis. Have you ever asked, we all know the story, Adam was born and then, created, and then Eve comes next. Have you ever asked why God did that? Why Adam first and then Eve later? He's God. He could have just created Adam, Eve, boom, together. He could do whatever. He's God. He creates Adam first. I think for one of the many reasons is to teach us a lesson. And that lesson is we need to be comfortable with our relationship with God first. For a lot of us, we tend to look for a relationship elsewhere before our relationship with God is where it needs to be. We need to be comfortable living in God's presence. We need to be comfortable living in God's presence. And Adam, that's what he did. He was created first. He was comfortable living in God's presence. It wasn't until later that Eve was created. And I think for all of us, we could take that as a lesson for us and apply it to our lives. And think about it. What happened when Eve was created? Did Adam say, God, please just send me someone. Send me this woman. I need her. Anybody. It was God that went up to Adam and said, Adam, you need somebody. Adam, you need somebody. It wasn't Adam that went to God and cried and said, help me, please, give me a boyfriend. That wasn't the case. It was God that went to Adam and provided Eve for him. God wants to give you that special person. He created marriage. He created relationship. He wants that for us. He wants that for you. But our relationship with him comes first. We need to build a foundation on God first. For a lot of us, we try to fill in whatever insecurities that we may have, any addiction that we may have, any trust issues that we may have, whatever things that we struggle with a boyfriend or a girlfriend like that, they're going to fix it. Addiction to whatever it is. Again, that foundation and becoming the right person, it starts with our relationship with God. So how do you become the right person? How do you become the right person? So like today, like I said, we're going to focus on the guys. It's going to be a little bit different from the guys to the girls, right? So this week, we're going to focus on the guys. And next week, we'll transition to talk about the women and how to become the right person. The goal of this series is what? Relationship leading to marriage. Relationship leading to marriage. Like I said, I grew up in the church. I grew up, went to college, lived that college life. After that, was lost. And I'll kind of share about my experience, my life, my journey. But I didn't learn what is my responsibility as a man. I want to make it clear, guys. I'm not perfect. All right? I'm not here to say I'm perfect. I've figured it all out. My confession father could tell you that's that's not true. I'm still trying to figure out how to be the man that God has called me to be. So when I talk about these examples, it's not to say I'm better than you or I know more than you, but it's talk about my journey, and you'll see some of the things that I'll be able to share with you guys. There's 3 lessons that we're going to see. Again, our goal is what? It's relationship, dating, leading to marriage. So as some married men, what is our goal? Men, what are we striving to be? What is our role? What is going to be our role? We don't wake up one day and say, all of a sudden, I know how to be a husband. We have a bigger role. So we look at 3, there's plenty, but we're going to focus on just 3 lessons for us today. The first one is love. We read in the book of Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25, husbands, love your wives. Husbands, men, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. What is St. Paul talking about here? Why us? Why call out the husbands? Love is mentioned so many times throughout the Bible. Why is it specific to us? I think, guys, we struggle with this. We say, I love you all the time, right? We say, I love you, I love you, I love you. But does our action show that? Love is a verb. St. Paul is talking about unconditional love. He's talking about unconditional love. I'll say, when it comes to my wife, I love her not because of what she does for me. A lot of times, single people, we love because she did this for me. She does that for me. She gives me this. That's not what St. Paul is talking about here. That's not love. It's about unconditional love. I think over here I saw, said, we love because he first loved us. We love first, not because of what they do. When it comes to my wife, I love because it's a God-given responsibility. Men, fellas, you have a responsibility to love. That's unconditional love. It's what we do. It's not what we say. A lot of times, fellas, we just say it, I love you. Like we don't even think about it. So how are we supposed to love? How are we supposed to love? Well, we saw in the scripture, it said, as Christ loved the church. As Christ loved the church. What did Christ do for the church? What did Christ do for the church? Shout it out. Died. Fellas, you ready to die for your wives? Yay, nay? For those of you guys that are dating, goal, leading to marriage, are you willing to die for that person? Love is hard. Love is challenging. Love requires work, requires sacrifice. Love requires spiritual maturity. So how do we apply this to in our relationship? Those that are dating, or those that might be single. Again, I don't want to just focus on people that are dating, but even if you're single, apply these tools. These are tools that we can carry with us into whenever we are ready for a relationship. So let's see what the Bible tells us about love, right? Love is everywhere. I could have pulled many verses. But there's a verse, there's a chapter, 1 Corinthians chapter 13. It's called the love chapter. All it does is talk about love. And you're good. Give him a shout out, guys. He's like, before I even click, he's already on the next slide. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. And we're going to focus on that one for the guys today. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, 4-7. Guys, you want to know how to love? This is the chapter we read. And now, this is not just specific to the guys, but again, we read earlier, husbands, love your wives. So what does that mean? How do we show love? To give you a context of with St. Paul, there was a division within the church. There was sexual immorality. Sound very familiar with our current time right now? Division. We have an ethnic division within our church. People are dividing. I go here, I go there, I'm this, I'm that. Sexual immorality within the church. So St. Paul is writing this to the people of Corinth to remind them what love is. I think that it could be applied to us now, and this time more than ever. There are over 10 principles if you see love. Love is patient, love is kind, it goes on. We're going to focus on just one, not self-seeking. And ladies, I'll tell you something. Next time a guy says, I love you, you know what you say? Delete the word love and substitute that with his name. Is he patient? I'll put my name and say, God is patient. Is that true? God is kind. Is that true? So next time somebody tells you, I love you, do the test. Delete the word love or it, so it does not boast, and see if he passes the test. See if he really does love you. Love is an action. Love is an action. It's what we do. It's not what we say, fellas. So out of all those principles, let's focus on love is not self-seeking. Love is not self-seeking. It's not caring about myself. It's not about me and what makes me comfortable, what's convenient for me. Fellas, we're going to be real. Sometimes we date for our benefits. We date for our benefits. What makes us happy? What do we need? We can't be alone. We can't be alone. So you know what? I'm going to get a girlfriend. That will fix it. I know people and relationships. And I know you guys are probably questioning, man, what kind of friends do you have? I know people that were in a relationship and they were planning their next relationship. They're about to break up with this one, but they're planning for their next relationship. I see some of the guys smiling and laughing. But that's what we do, guys. Love is not self-seeking. Love is not about me. I know people, guys, that date for sexual pleasure. Let's be honest. Sexual pleasure. Bragging rights. I dated that person, that person, that person. Like, it's just a number for us. Love is not self-seeking. Fellas, if you're going to date, we have a huge responsibility. And it's not a responsibility I'm giving you. This is a responsibility God is giving you. It's to love. How are we treating the women in our lives? Is it to our advantage? Or is it just as Christ loved, that he gave his life for us? We have a bad culture, especially when it comes to this. Men, we see with our parents, the men work, women work, and take care of the babies, the house, and everything else. That's the culture we grew up in. Our parents' culture. Women cook, clean, do everything else. Men, we're just expected to go to work, come back, bring money, figure that out. When it comes to kids, babies, like the women takes care of that. There's this concept of 50-50, 50-50. I never understood that. Like, how do we know they're 50-50? Like, so I'm an accountant, right? Math. 50-50 is like there's 100 things to do, and then I do the 50 and you do the 50. In marriage, relationship, there's not a task list. So there's no 50-50. It's 100. It's 100. Sometimes we make it seem like we have to split everything like evenly when it comes to responsibilities. And it's not just our parents' culture. It's not just our parents' culture. I had a conversation with somebody here, so it's recent, and I was telling them about my daughter waking up like at night when she was a baby, when she was a baby. And it's a guy that I'm talking to, and I tell him like she wakes up in the middle of the night. It was rough, like in the beginning, like no sleep. I wake up, and she wakes up, 20 minutes later, like you don't get no sleep. And he said, "You wake up too?" I was like, "Yeah." Like she wakes, I have to I change her diaper, help out. I was like, "Oh, I thought the mother does all that." And it hit me. It's not just our parents' culture. Fellas, we got to do a better job. We got to do a better job of taking responsibility that belongs to us. When it comes to serving, when it comes to loving, it's action. You show that through your actions. You show that through what you do, not what we say. I love you so much, I'll, swim across the ocean. We say all these things, but can you do like the simple things? My wife was gone last week. She was on a work trip. And our neighbor was outside, and she saw me, and she said, "Hi," but we were talking. And she said, "Where's your wife? How is she?" I was like, "Oh, she's outside, she's traveling for work. She hasn't been here this week." And she said, "She trusts you with the baby by herself?" And I'm like, I just shook my head, and I'm like, whatever. But, you don't think, but she has every right. Where is that coming from? Where's that comment coming from? Because, man, we dropped the ball. We painted this picture of, man, we could barely do anything. I know I don't want to pick on my dad just in case he watches this, but there was a time my dad couldn't, use a microwave, right? Like, it's just shocking to me. So, love. When it talks about love, fellas, we need to do a better job of showing that through our action, through service. Love is not what we say, it's what we do. Christ, God himself said, all right, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. Love is not self-seeking. Love is not about me, what's convenient for me, what makes sense for me in my time. Love is easy for women. Women love, like they love too much sometimes, right? It's easy for them. And God, he knows all things, right? He didn't say women, wives, love your husbands. That's a given. Women will do that. My wife loves to serve. For those of you guys that have ever been to my house, there's a difference when you come to my house when I'm there and when she's there, right? And Blaine is laughing because she knows. She's been there. When I come, you're lucky if I offer you water, if I offer you snacks, if I offer you tea, coffee, if I do, everything will be in plastic cups, plastic, plates and all that. Why? It's easier for me. I don't want to wash dishes. My wife, you come to the house, coffee's dinner. You want dinner? You want lunch? Eat. She's just offering. It's just easy for women to show their love through their actions, right? It's not what's convenient for them. And we should do a better job of that. Even within YLTC, how many servants do we have that are male versus females? We have a lot more women serving than guys. Fellas, we could start practicing, learning, having these tools so when you get to be a husband, you know how to serve. Relationships. If you're in a relationship, learn how to serve your girlfriend. A few pointers. These are things that I've heard that I'm just kind of sharing. People, there was an individual that was sick and she was going to the hospital or whatever, and this guy wouldn't go, like her boyfriend wouldn't go visit her because there's a basketball game. You can't miss a basketball game. We got to do better. We got to do better. Why? It's not convenient for me to go out of my way to do that. I'll see you after or before. There was a time, even when I was dating, I remember, me and my wife, when we were dating, there was times where, like she needed me, and it was like the Super Bowl. Like I remember it was the New England and the Seahawks, they were playing. Like she, like second half, like it was a good game, but she needed something from me, so I had to go out of my way. Did I want to? No. But that's what love does. When you love somebody, if you truly do mean that, basketball games don't matter. Football games don't matter. You could watch the highlights. Hanging out with your friends don't matter. Imagine, guys, you work for a week, right? Or 2 weeks. Say 2 weeks, right? Everybody, we get paid every 2 weeks now. So you work for 2 weeks and you go, your job gives you $20 and said, that's all we have left. Sorry. But I put 80 hours. I should be making, you say, 1,000. Hopefully you get paid more than that. But you're supposed to get so much, but they give you like $10, $20. How would you feel? You deserve more. I feel like that's how we treat our girlfriends. We give them whatever is left, whatever time that we have left, instead of giving them what they deserve. Fellas, man, we got to do a better job of loving, learning what love really is through our action, through our service. That's the first one. So that's love. Let's jump into the second one. Second one is even harder. Or not even harder. I guess they're all hard. Honor. Honor. Husbands, likewise, dwell with them with understanding, giving honor to the wife as to the weaker vessel. Women, before you guys throw anything at me about the weaker vessel, I'm just reading the word of God. Don't come at me. And as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers may not be hindered. Honor. We struggle with that. So, 1 Peter. St. Peter is writing this during the time of persecution of the church. The church was being persecuted. Hard times. And he's telling them, honor. But we're going through persecution. Honor. So again, honor is hard. Any of you guys going through persecution? Anybody trying to kill you? This is where St. Peter is writing to the people at this time. This applies to our marriage. It's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be easy to do. But we're supposed to honor. Again, these are God-given responsibility. Next slide. Look at that beautiful family. If you guys don't know, that's me. I look good. No, I'm just joking. That's me, my beautiful wife, and my beautiful daughter. She's so much bigger now, too. So a lot of you guys are like, who's this guy teaching about relationship? What does he know, right? Well, for those of you guys that may not know, I am married. That's my wife, and that's my daughter. Beautiful? Yay? No? Yes, thank you. I almost ruined this. Because why? Because of honor. This is the goal for everybody, to be a family man. When I was dating, I almost ruined it because of a mistake that I made. It only takes one decision. Under the influence, with your friends, to make one decision to lose something this beautiful. Sometimes we don't think about that. Guys, for a lot of us, we rather impress our friends instead of honoring the person we're with. There are things that are socially accepted in this world right now. but not how God intends us to be in a relationship. There are things that are socially accepted, but not how God intends marriage relationship to be. This is the goal. This is beautiful. I'm happy to be in this, but I could have lost this because of a decision I made while we were dating. Or even engaged. I think we were engaged at that time. There are things that are socially accepted, right? And I'll just name it, and don't try to get me to say, what did Allah do? Don't call my wife and ask her, all right? She's not going to tell you because, marriage is between me and her and our confession father. But there are things that we do, guys, and where we dishonor our women. I'll say a few things. We're going to be real. I'm going to say a few things. One is social media. Guys, we tend to follow these IG models that are half naked, posting these pictures, and all we do is scroll. How are you honoring the person that you're with following these people? We don't even know them, but we follow them. Why? Because of the picture that they post. Going to strip clubs. Oh, we're going to talk about it, guys. Going to strip clubs. There are guys in a relationship that, it's okay to go. I mean, I'm not doing anything. I'm just looking like I'm not doing. It's not cheating. Is that bringing honor to your girlfriend? Is that honoring the person you're with? Sliding into DMs, which is a new thing that I've started to learn. Now that, thank God I'm out the dating game. My goodness. Sliding into DMs. There are people that talk to, that are in a relationship, but make new friends online, on Instagram, whatever, all the other social media pages. We're just friends. If you're 25, 26, 27, you shouldn't be meeting new friends. Especially if you're in a relationship. For those of you guys that are in a relationship, when you're a grown adult, like in a serious relationship, you shouldn't be trying to make new friends. You should have, people, I'm not saying love people and everything like that, but people say they're just my friends. What is their intention? She's single. You're in a relationship. What is her intention? Men, we're not as strong as you think. You're not as strong as you think. Don't play with fire. Don't play with fire. Stop following these random people and say, that's just my friend. How do we act when we're with our friends versus like when we're with our girlfriends? Guys like to be cool. Guys like to be cool. She's just fill in the blank. She's just my friend, man. Like, we just hanging out. She's nobody. I've heard guys refer to women, people they're in a relationship with, as situations. She's just my situation. What does that even mean? Are we bringing honor or dishonor to the relationship that we're in? Are we bringing honor or dishonor to the relationship and the women that we're with? Our goal isn't social media. That's not our goal. That's not the bar. It's not to have the most followers or go through pictures of half naked. That's not the bar. That's not the goal. The goal is the Word of God. What is God's responsibility to men? Honor. Honor. Are we working towards that in our relationship? How much do we value our wives, our girlfriends, people that we quote unquote love? Can people look at your relationship and say, you were created in the image of God? I think I was talking to Mesai earlier, and he said, Kalab, you look just like, I'm not calling you out, I promise. He said, Kalab, you look just like, Johanna, my daughter. She looks just like you. She looks just like you. And I get that a lot. She looks just like me. She looks just like me. Fellas, can somebody look at you and say you're in the image of God and how you treat women? Can people look at you, your friends, your boys, the guys, look at you and say, You were created in the image of God. Me, at that one point when I messed up and almost lost this beautiful family that I do have now, at that point, that mistake, not did I let God and her down, but I let, people looked at me and said, you're supposedly a Christian, but you're doing this. It's a God-given responsibility and how we supposed to honor the people that we so, loved. Bring honor, not just when we're with them, but publicly. You're supposed to defend that person. Why does that matter? If you guys notice the last verse or the last part of that, it said, giving honor to the wife as to the weaker vessel and as to bring heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers may not be hindered. That your prayers may not be hindered. Guys, yes, your prayer matters in how we treat women. It's not me saying it. It's the word of God. Does that convince you that we need to honor the women in our lives? What we say in public, what we say, what we do, places we visit. So how do we honor the people that we're in a relationship with? Don't take advantage of them. Don't take advantage of women. If you know a girl that loves you, don't lead her to a place where it's not going. I've seen relationships where a guy has no intention of a long term with this person, but he sticks through it. Why? Again, selfish reason. The first one, love is not self-seeking. That's not honoring the person you're with. You're leading them to something where there's no, you don't see a future with. Being truthful with our intention, that's being part of the man. Be intentional. What is it that you want? Don't waste their time. Don't waste their time. So that's number 2, honor. Honor them. Honor the women in our lives, in a relationship, so that your prayers may not be hindered. Hopefully that convinces you enough of taking this God-given responsibility seriously. Last point. We're called to lead. Man, we're called to lead. We like this one. For the husband is the head of the wife, as also Christ is the head of the church. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 23. We like this verse because it makes us look good. We're the head. What does it really mean to be the head? All right, again, talking marriage, but we'll apply this to, dating, relationship, and so forth. Being the head has nothing to do with having authority over, husband, over your wife. I don't have authority over my wife. Christ here talks about being the husband is the head of the wife, so also as Christ is the head of the church. There's an analogy there. Christ is the head of the church. What does that mean? The Christ and the church, they're one. We looked at verses last week from the book of Genesis, the book of Matthew, right? When you're married, it's no longer 2, but 1. It's not about having authority. Every time we see this verse, we think we have authority over the women in our lives. So if the husband is the head of the wife, then who is the head of the husband? In the 1 Corinthians, St. Paul tells us, but I want you to know that the head of every man is Christ. The head of every man is Christ. The head of women is man. The head of Christ is God. Guys, you want to lead? You want to be the leader? You need to first have God as the head in your life. You need to first have God, the headship, Christ, be your head. Women respond how a man submits to Christ's headship, right? When you lead well, guys, when you lead well, women married, again, I'm talking about marriage, you don't have to push, you don't have to pull, you don't have to convince your wife to follow you, to follow your lead. I think an important lesson is the problem in marriage today isn't that we have too many women who don't want to submit. And we'll talk about submission next week with women. The problem is that we have too many men who don't want to submit to the headship of Jesus. That's the problem. There's a lot of guys that want to lead, but what are we being led? Is Christ our head, or is it something else? Question for you guys. Are we submitting to the headship of Jesus, or is it our career? What is leading us? Is it job? Nightlife? Is that what we go to? Is that what drives us? When it comes to dating a relationship, this is where your ground is. The headship should be Christ, should be God. Are we leading our relationship to God or to sin? Are we leading our relationship to God or to sin? I guarantee you this. If you lead that relationship to God, the women that you end up marrying has no problem submitting to you. And I'll talk, my wife will be here, I don't know, a couple weeks. We can talk about submission. We'll talk about submission next week. She'll say, I submit. Yeah, she has no problem submitting. Guys, what is your headship? There's a book titled Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. It's a nurse that wrote this book, and she talks about, she nurses people that goes to this nursing home that are about to die. So they have about 3 weeks to like a month to live. And she ended up asking them, what do you regret the most, right? So they're about to die. They're pretty much on their deathbed. And she said, what do you regret the most? What do you think they said? I didn't work hard enough. I didn't have enough money. The number one answer was the courage to live a life true to myself. So that was number one. So number 2, which is what I want to focus on. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. That was the number 2 answer for people that are about to die. Fellas, we like to work. We like to get things done. I get it. I know. I've been there. We get caught up. But again, when it's time to lead, is work your number 1 priority, or is God your number 1 priority? I'll talk about my life, my experience, about my journey. So when I was younger, I went to college, lived the college life, and graduated. And after graduation, got a job. And I worked really hard because success, you chase success, right? Made a lot of money. I was driving a nice car. I was driving a Beamer. Now I drive an Accord. But I was driving a Beamer, had a townhouse. I chased success. That was it. Never found satisfaction. There was something missing. I had no relationship with God. My headship was money. I got to make money. Success. That was what was leading me, not God. And I couldn't get a relationship. I couldn't stay in a relationship. Because why? I was being driven by what the world teaches us. Success, money, nightlife, right? All those things, all those fancy things. I mean, I had everything that people would want. I was empty inside. It wasn't until I gave up my life and said, you know what, got started getting back into the church, and through the grace of God, I am where I am today. But it wasn't until I made Christ my head, right? So started being led by Christ that he provided, my wife. So it wasn't until that I submitted to God that I was able to find, the woman that I'm married to now. And I didn't even ask, it was just God provided. We go back to the first point. God wants to give you that person. God wants to give you the other person. Fellas, but we focus so much on our career, success, money. And I'm not saying these are wrong things. You should graduate. You should be successful. But we must submit and make Christ the headship of our life. I read something in a book, and I forgot the title, or saw it somewhere, but I have it written down on my notes, and he said, there are two main things that are everybody's mind throughout life: money and relationship. One of those will make you rich. For me, it was money first. And I could consider myself rich. I was young, driving a Beamer. I had a house. I was good. But I wasn't happy. I wasn't rich. But now, I drive an Accord, I'm happier. My life was fulfilled. Why? I submitted to God. We're called to lead. Our job as men is to lead. But first, we must first submit our headship to Christ. So I'll conclude here. It's not about finding the right one. I know there was a question, how do I know he's the one? How do I know she's the one? It's about becoming the right person. And today we focus on the guys. We said, and how do I become the right person? We love. We love through our actions. We honor the wives that we're with, the relationship that we're in. We honor their name. We honor them as a woman. Why? So our prayers may not be hindered. Last but not least, we're called to lead. You want to become the right person? This is what you do. Practice these three. And we do that through the glory of God.